Ready for an October full of scares, laughs, and intense emotions? This month, streaming platforms and theaters are teaming up to bring you a selection of movies and series that will leave you breathless. From supernatural creatures to the return of zombies, there's something for everyone. Don't miss the most anticipated premieres and discover new series that will hook you from the first episode. Let's watch it. It's fascinating. The Diplomat. Though it's not the most enjoyable situation to be in, the diplomatic landscape has gotten pretty heated in this 2020s decade, and series like this give us a truly interesting perspective on what it means to keep the world at bay from a third world war, especially in tumultuous times like these. We're talking about the acclaimed series The Diplomat, which will release its highly anticipated second season in October. It explores the complexities of international diplomacy in times of crisis, combining political tension with personal drama. Because diplomats risk not only global stability, but also their personal lives. The story revolves around Kate Weiler, played by Kerry Russell, an American diplomat who is unexpectedly assigned as the U.S. ambassador to the U.K. amid a geopolitical crisis. As she tries to handle the pressure of her new position, Kate must also navigate her marriage to Hal Weiler, a more experienced and well-known diplomat with his own agenda. The series portrays international politics and diplomacy as a game of chess, where every move has potentially disastrous consequences on a global scale. It also focuses on power dynamics, both on the world stage and in personal relationships, as Kate's public and private lives intertwine. The first season left many questions unanswered, so fans are more than eager to see the second season, which promises much more than the first, given that the narrative lines have already been established and are ready to heat up in the second season. Let's see how this series does. It might just become the next House of Cards. Dragon Ball Daima. If you love classic anime, you're going to love this. This October sees the release of the latest installment of this legendary story, Dragon Ball Daima, which will undoubtedly be one of the most important entries in the saga, as it was one of the last projects worked on by the legendary Akira Toriyama, who we sadly said goodbye to in March. In this case, Dragon Ball Daima brings us a pretty fresh concept, as we'll see Goku, Vegeta, and other Z fighters transformed into younger versions, regaining their childhood appearance. While the full plot hasn't been revealed yet, it's known that the series will address a kind of rebirth of the characters under a new threat that forces them to face challenges in a different way. One of the most talked about aspects of the series is the visual style. By presenting the characters in their younger forms, the series will attempt to recapture a design closer to that of the original Dragon Ball. It's certainly a significant gamble in the anime world, and I know that those of us who grew up with Dragon Ball are more than happy to see the series return to its nostalgic beginnings. Let us know in the comments. Did you watch Dragon Ball in your childhood? La Machina. Recently, Disney Plus has been trying to create new movies that aren't necessarily connected to Disney's animated universe, and in this wave of new efforts, some particularly interesting projects have emerged, like this one. La Machina is a series starring Gael Garcia Bernal and Diego Luna, two of the most recognized actors in contemporary Mexican cinema, who also serve as executive producers for the project. So it's clear they had a Latin audience in mind. The plot revolves around a veteran boxer at the twilight of his career. With the help of his manager, he seeks one last opportunity to reach glory. To achieve this, his team is willing to do whatever it takes, even if it means diving into the dangerous world of organized crime. The series promises an interesting combination of drama, sports, and crime elements, with a narrative focused on redemption, sacrifice, and the struggle to stay relevant in a world that seems to have left the protagonist behind. This project marks the first collaboration between Bernal and Luna as leads in a television series, after having worked together in films like Y Tu Mama Tambien. With the strong chemistry between the two actors and the backing of Disney Plus and Searchlight, La Machina is one of the most anticipated productions in the landscape of Spanish-language series. And you know what? I can't resist a good redemption story. I love those kinds of plots. Tell us in the comments what your favorite type of plot is. Venom: The Last Dance. Superhero movies haven't fared so well since the epic conclusion of Avengers: Endgame. And let's be honest, the 2020s have hit them like a runaway truck. But there's a series of Marvel movies that have shown incredible resilience, even with the superhero film decline hitting them time and again. We're talking about Venom, which, despite not being as successful, continues to rise time and again. Well, if we can say anything, it's that it's a franchise with great determination, with Venom, The Last Dance serving as the conclusion to this determined series of films, which at the very least promises us a spectacular ending for a series that wasn't so critically acclaimed. Who knows? Maybe the film will wrap up the era of superhero film decline with a bang. The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. Zombies were super popular from the late 2000s to the early 2010s. During that time, apocalyptic zombie stories were everywhere. Some were good, others bad, but the fact is, it was a super popular theme back then. And of course, it was during that time that the Walking Dead franchise gained momentum. And just like the zombies, this franchise refuses to die, returning from the grave with the launch of the series The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, now with its second season. Without diving into too many spoilers, the first season left us with several questions. Daryl, after a long and dangerous journey through France, encountered a new threat, a variant of walkers that is much faster and more aggressive. Additionally, his relationship with the religious community he found became complicated, leaving him in a precarious situation. The season finale showed Daryl making a crucial decision that will shape the course of his next adventure. After a season in which Daryl ventured solo through France, this second installment will bring one of the most anticipated reunions. Daryl and Carol together again. Their friendship and camaraderie have been foundational to the original series, and seeing them together in this new context will be exciting. Wizards Beyond Waverly Place. For many fans of Wizards of Waverly Place, this Disney series was incredibly iconic and holds a special, nostalgic place in their hearts. If you're among those who grew up with this show, you'll be happy to know that it's returning this October with a direct sequel to the original series. It premieres on October 29, 2024, on Disney Channel, with the first 8 episodes available the following day on Disney+. The story follows Justin Russo, who has decided to lead a normal life as a mortal with his family, including his wife Giada and their children, Roman and Milo. However, his quiet life takes a turn when his sister Alex shows up at his home with Billy, a young wizard in need of training. This forces Justin to resume his magical skills while balancing family responsibilities and protecting the future of the wizarding world. From what we know, the series will retain the charm of its predecessor, but will be adapted to reflect the time that has passed since the first series, allowing the former child actors to play adults and serve as mentors to the next generation of wizards. This gives a refreshing twist to things, as Disney often tries to artificially prolong the careers of child actors, while in this production, they gracefully accept that the kids have grown up and can now take on mature roles. The series aims to attract both new viewers and fans of the original series. In a way, it's made for parents who watch the show as kids to enjoy it with a new generation. Wild Robot. This promises to be one of the highest-grossing animated films of the year, because just from watching the trailer, we can sense that it will be one of those visually stunning animated movies that also have the power to stir deep emotions. It's the super production, Wild Robot, from the same team at DreamWorks that brought us How to Train Your Dragon, though this time the distributor is Universal Pictures. According to what we know, the story of the film is an adaptation of Peter Brown's Wild Robot books, which were known for their stunning illustrations that have now been brought to life by the DreamWorks team. The story will follow a robot who, for unknown reasons, has ended up on a remote island away from civilization, and she must learn to survive with the help of the animals that live there while assisting an orphaned gosling in finding its way in the world. The story promises to be touching enough to make you cry, and will certainly be one of the strongest family films coming this October. I don't know about you, but I love science fiction, and I've already made reservations to see the movie. Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. Look, I'm a simple man. Just give me Godzilla or other giant monsters on screen and I'm happy. So you have no idea how thrilled I am about the upcoming release of this series. Yes, we're talking about Monarch Legacy of Monsters. This is an Apple TV series where we will follow the story of 2 siblings who, after the emergence of Godzilla and other titans, uncover the secrets of their family and their connection to the secret organization Monarch, which has been studying these monsters for decades. The narrative unfolds across multiple timelines, combining the past and present to delve deeper into the universe inhabited by Godzilla, Kong, Mothra, and other monsters of the so-called Monsterverse. Set after the events of Godzilla vs. Kong, the series offers a deeper perspective on the mysterious organization Monarch, which has played a key role in previous films. And of course, the series will serve as a crossover point for the storylines of the MonsterVerse films, expanding the mythology of these giants and their impact on humanity. I must say, I absolutely love giant monsters. You have no idea how fascinated I am by them. The series has generated high expectations among MonsterVerse fans, but of course, we'll have to see how good it really is. Nosferatu. This is a truly risky bet in the world of horror films. If it works, it could revive a genre that has been dead for decades, and if not, well, it could be the final nail in the coffin for this genre. These are the perfect terms, as we're talking about the highly anticipated film Nosferatu by director Robert Eggers, which promises to bring the gothic horror genre back to life. You know, that super classic horror of vampires and werewolves. However, this film promises to strip away all the Hollywood nonsense associated with this type of horror, sticking closely to the absolute roots of the genre, thus creating a film that adheres very strictly to what truly made the vampires of Bram Stoker and classic Gothic literature iconic and perversely attractive. Just look at that visual atmosphere. The film promises a lot and is expected to be terrifying from start to finish, as it's not a reinterpretation of the vampire figure like Twilight or anything like that, but rather seems to be a revival of the Victorian vampires, which were genuinely frightening. Will the film be a stake through the heart? Or will it be an evil resurrection of Gothic horror? Well, only time will tell. The franchise. Historically, superhero movies and similar ones live on an eternal roller coaster. There are moments when they achieve unimaginable success, like what happened in the 2000s and 2010s. And well, there are other moments in film history when superhero stories are in free fall. Let's be honest. It's easy to see how today Marvel and DC Comics franchises are on the decline. So this is the best time to release this series that mocks not only superhero movies, but also the entire media industry behind them. We're talking about the intriguing comedy and satire series known as The Franchise, created by Armando Iannucci and directed by Sam Mendes. The story follows a group of filmmakers working on a struggling superhero franchise while trying in every way to save the movie and their increasingly doomed careers. The idea is certainly very fresh, as we've seen more than enough superhero movies, but we certainly haven't seen a perspective that explores what goes on behind the scenes of that entire film industry. And of course, as a satirical comedy, you can be sure they will extensively mock our favorite superhero movies. Sometimes it's essential to learn to laugh at yourself and the things you love, because otherwise, you'll never learn to see your own mistakes. And I think it's high time we recognize the weaknesses behind these types of films. The cast includes well-known actors such as Daniel Bruhl, Himesh Patel, Aya Cash, and Richard E. Grant. According to critics who have already seen it, the series stands out for its sharp humor and its focus on the internal struggles of the creative team trying to produce a worthy film amid impossible commercial expectations. Fargo. But not all of them are new series. Some are releasing highly anticipated new seasons this October, such as Fargo, which will premiere its 5th season. In case you're not familiar with it, Fargo is an anthology crime and drama series created by Noah Hawley, based on the world and tone of the 1996 film of the same name. Each season of Fargo presents an independent story with new characters and plots, although all are set in the same universe and maintain a thematic and stylistic connection to the original film. The scripts feature a blend of comedic, sometimes absurd situations with moments of brutal violence, creating a striking contrast and a type of extremely dark humor. One could call it jet black humor. For the 5th season, we'll follow a story set in 2019 focusing on the misadventures of Dot Lyon, played by Juno Temple, a regular woman unexpectedly caught up in a complicated criminal mess. In addition to Dot, the season will feature a variety of fascinating characters. John Hamm plays an obsessed sheriff trying to catch Dot, while Jennifer Jason Leigh portrays a powerful local businesswoman with her own secrets. Joe Keery, known for his role in Stranger Things, is also part of the cast, playing a police officer with delusions of grandeur. As with previous seasons, the 5th installment of Fargo maintains its unique visual style and non-linear storytelling, with a script filled with clever dialogue and absurd situations that contrast with the backdrop of violence and crime. The tone of the season mixes classic Fargo elements, like the clash between the mundane and the extraordinary, with contemporary themes. The 5th season of Fargo has generated significant anticipation due to its star-studded cast, and the promise of a story filled with intrigue and surprises. Critics say it will offer a macabre yet entertaining exploration of the dark corners of human nature. Vox Machina. I have to let you in on a secret. I'm more than excited for the third season of the legendary animated series Vox Machina, which brings the crazy fantasy world of Dungeons & Dragons to the big screen, showcasing one of the most polished and well-crafted 2D animations in recent years, making it one of the most anticipated entries in adult animation. This production stands out from the rest because the story isn't based on a book or a movie. It's based on the original Dungeons & Dragons campaign played by the group from Critical Role. So the story is extremely fresh and doesn't resemble any other fantasy tale out there, mixing humor, action, and a deep, engaging narrative. The third season promises to delve into even more epic themes and larger stories, as the previous seasons only hinted at what's to come in this third installment. Seriously, even if you're not into Dungeons & Dragons, you should at least watch it for the animation. It's top-notch, and the story is easy to follow, even if you're not a fan of the game. Outer Banks. What do you do when your adventure story has already had a satisfying ending? What happens when your heroes have found the treasure and completed all the challenges you set before them? Well, that's the big narrative challenge that Outer Banks is facing in its newest season. You see, this is a youth adventure and drama series produced by Netflix, which has become a hit since its premiere in 2020. The story follows a group of teenagers known as the Pogues, who live on Outer Banks Island in North Carolina. Their lives take an exciting turn when they discover a mysterious map that leads them on a quest for a legendary treasure. It's a plot as simple as it is entertaining. Who doesn't love a good adventure series? However, the third season wrapped up several major narrative arcs, as the protagonists found the treasure and defeated the villains. Yet Netflix surprised everyone with a fourth season. Truth be told, everyone is scratching their heads in confusion, as nobody expected the series to continue, so there's great anticipation surrounding what this fourth season might bring. It's a challenging narrative task for the creators of the series, but if they manage to overcome this challenge, the show might gain even more traction with another narrative line to explore. Smile 2. I have to admit, when I saw the first installment of the movie Smile, I didn't have high hopes. It seemed like just another run-of-the-mill horror film, but oh my god, what an incredible horror movie it turned out to be. I haven't been this scared in years, as the plot of the first film started to get intense. And, well, since October is Halloween month, it's the perfect time to release the second installment of this burgeoning horror saga. And let me tell you, if the sequel is at least half as good as the first one, then there will be a lot to say, because the first is a fantastic film. The saga originally revolves around a type of horror from beyond that affects people's minds. The monstrosity has no physical form but impacts people's minds, forcing them to, let's say, voluntarily take a one-way trip to meet their maker. What makes the movie interesting is the fact that this horror is contagious. If you see someone taking their own life while being affected by the psychic monster, the horror infects you. This creates an atmosphere full of suspense, as at any moment, the monstrosity can jump from person to person. Now it seems the sequel will tell the story of what happens when this horror begins to infect a very famous singer viewed by millions of people. And well, you know what they say about sequels, but hey, the premise of the first was very original and terrifying, and it would be interesting to see what happens when they explore it down different paths. Joker, Folie à Deux. Joaquin Phoenix's Joker movie truly took the world by storm, doing something that had never been done with any comic book character. It took one of the most infamous villains in the DC Comics universe, the Joker, and instead of creating a standard villain movie, it transformed the always murky origin story of the Joker into a surprisingly deep psychological thriller in which we can feel both empathy and terror for the figure of the Joker. And well, we'll have a second installment of this fascinating portrayal with Joker, Folie à Deux. The title references a psychological term describing a disorder shared by two people, hinting at the inclusion of a new key character in the Joker's life, Harley Quinn, who will be portrayed by none other than Lady Gaga. Now, a surprising detail about this sequel is that it will be partially a musical, which will give it a completely different tone from the first installment. It's certainly a strange but fascinating choice to explore the shared psychosis of these two villains in the DC Comics universe. There are high expectations for this movie, but we'll have to see if they can make lightning strike twice with this unusual sequel. Now it's your turn. Which premiere are you looking forward to the most this month? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Here are two options that you'll surely love.